The citizens of Gaza cannot assemble in protest of their own government, cannot do or say what they want, or practice whatever religion they want, or have a free press. All rights guaranteed in just our First Amendment. The irony in all this is that the world the founders birthed, flawed though it may be, provides the bedrock for everything that makes life good for the very people who hate them so much.
Bill Maher has targeted the younger generation with relentless intensity, mercilessly criticizing them for despising America and blaming it for every global disaster. He held nothing back, delivering one scathing attack after another aimed at dismantling the fragile, woke youth, and things are about to get intense.
The smartest thing Democrats did this year was finding their patriotism again. If you told me a year ago that if Kamala Harris would be the nominee and in her acceptance speech she would use the word privilege, I would not have guessed that she used it the way she did.
The greatest privilege on earth. The privilege and pride of being an American.
Yeah, and Tim Walz also began his speech with a great line saying, "We're all here tonight for one beautiful, simple reason. We love this country." And yet this message doesn't seem to be catching on with a lot of the younger people. None of them are standing up and screaming, "That's my country." Quite the reverse. Quite the reverse. The protests that started off as justice for Palestine have morphed into a broader kind of America is the problem. We the whole world thing.
I have to say, the young woke crowd didn't invent their hatred for America out of nowhere. They inherited it, growing up watching parents, professors, and so-called opinion leaders mock and ridicule the country at every turn. Over time, that poison sank in, and now they wear it like a badge of honor. The hypocrisy is clear. Countless celebrities have thrown tantrums, threatening to abandon America when it won't bend to their demands. Whether it's insisting biological men compete in women's sports or pushing radical abortion laws, the younger generation absorbed it all. And now they echo it louder, angrier, and more ungrateful than ever.
Last weekend, there was a pro-Palestine rally in Seattle, and when the rapper Macklemore said, "F America," everybody loved it.
Yeah, America.
Yeah, I'm sure it was a big hit with the Queers for Gaza crowd. Literally advocating for a government that would imprison you or kill you for being queer, from the safety and security of a country that doesn't do that.
Massa then highlights the sheer absurdity of the younger woke crowd's mindset, despising America simply for supporting Israel in the Middle East. In their twisted logic, the United States becomes the real terrorist, while Hamas, the very group they loudly defend, gets a free pass. The irony is staggering. These same activists, marching with rainbow flags, fail to see that Hamas, if given the chance, would persecute or even eliminate them for being queer. Massa cuts through the delusion, showing that their blind hatred of America actually aligns them with forces that openly reject their existence.
Yes, America, the only place in the world where a white guy from the suburbs could become a millionaire rapper, because here every person, regardless of race, class, or gender, has the right to be talent-free. And guess what document allows you to protest and chant, "Hey, hey, ho, ho," followed by something really stupid? Yeah, Constitution Day was last week. It's an actual federal holiday, but no one noticed, despite the fact that it's probably the greatest legal document ever. Is it flawed? Of course. It was written by humans, and they were all white men, as depicted in this illustration from Google AI.
What the young woke crowd fails to understand is that, despite its flaws, America remains one of the greatest nations on earth for opportunity and freedom. Few places offer the same level of privilege, protection, and possibility. The American dream is still alive. It demands grit, sacrifice, and hard work, but anyone willing to put in the effort can rise above their circumstances. That promise isn't just a slogan, it's enshrined in the Constitution, crafted by our forefathers to protect liberty for generations, not to tear the country down. Perhaps it's time to recognize and appreciate the extraordinary rights and opportunities that countless others around the world can only dream of.
But how about looking at the actual ideas in it? I won't hold my breath for that because only 14% of 8th graders are proficient in history now, and only 22% in civics, which may be why 4 in 10 Gen Zers say the authors of the Constitution are best described as villains. Wow. It's amazing, since in 1776, James Monroe was 18, Alexander Hamilton was 21, and James Madison 25. Joe Biden was only 30.
Of course, no Maher takedown would be complete without a jab at President Joe Biden's age. Maher has long been one of the few voices on the left willing to say what many quietly admit: Biden is not just aging, but visibly slipping. While his Democratic allies tried to convince Americans that he was sharp, steady, and at his best, Maher kept raising the red flag, pointing out the gaffes, stumbles, and moments of confusion that everyone else wanted to ignore. Love him or hate him, Maher refused to join the charade, sounding the alarm long before the mainstream dared to acknowledge it.
America's founders, they were the Gen Z of their day. And when they were your age, they started a country. What the fuck have you done? So no, the Constitution isn't perfect because it wasn't written by Taylor Swift, but... And yes, the founders made excruciating compromises, obviously slavery. But slavery was a deal breaker for the southern states. So there would have been two countries. And then to end slavery in North America, it would have involved invading a sovereign nation instead of having the moral high ground of keeping a union together. Would that have been better? History's complicated, and Gen Z reasoning is not.
Maher highlights what he sees as a major flaw in woke Gen Z's thinking: their obsession with judging the framers of the Constitution by today's standards. They constantly use slavery as a weapon to attack the Founding Fathers, as if the men who built a fragile new nation should have made decisions with 21st century hindsight. Maher argues that the founders understood the dangers of abolishing slavery outright at the country's birth, which could have fractured the young republic before it had a chance to survive. While not morally perfect, their choices were calculated to preserve the Union and allow for gradual progress, with the Constitution itself planting the seeds for eventual freedom. Instead of recognizing that historical complexity, woke Gen Z dismisses the founders as villains, overlooking the imperfect yet visionary groundwork that made today's freedoms possible.
They think they're pure, but they're really just simplistic. They know two things: white people did some very bad things, and no, that's it. That's all they do. That's okay.
I don't blame Gen Z entirely for their distorted view of history, as Hollywood has played a huge role in shaping their perceptions. For decades, the film industry has produced movies about slavery that exaggerate, embellish, or dramatize events to deliver emotional impact and cinematic flair. That's Hollywood's approach. Entertain first, inform second. Even documentaries, which are meant to stick to facts, often lean into sensationalism, bending narratives just enough to attract viewers and spark outrage. The problem is that younger audiences consume this content without critical thinking, taking dramatized scenes and exaggerated portrayals as objective history lessons. Woke Gen Z then seizes these embellishments, turns them into rallying cries, and repeats them as gospel truths. Instead of learning the nuances of history, they are parroting Hollywood scripts, mistaking entertainment-driven distortion for reality, and Maher doesn't hesitate to call it out.
Well, I know that too, but I also know other things. Like how in 1776, slavery was a lot like flying private today. If you could afford to, you would have done it too. Everybody did it, of all races, throughout history, in the Bible, and all over the world. If you hate George Washington for slavery, are you prepared to hate the woman king? Because her empire was built on it too. And where do you imagine is this place, outside of your brilliant, pure minds, that's so much better than America? At least America self-corrects, a mechanism for which was actually written into the Constitution.
Matsby is absolutely right. The loudest voices condemning the Founding Fathers for not abolishing slavery immediately or for owning slaves often ignore the realities of history. Had those critics lived in the 18th century, they likely would have done no better, and perhaps worse, because slavery was not just tolerated. it was the norm. Nearly every prominent figure from the past, inside and outside America, had ties to slavery in some form, from philosophers to monarchs to military leaders, making it a tragically common practice across civilizations. That doesn't excuse it, but it provides context. The founders were products of their time, yet they still crafted a constitution that planted the seeds for eventual abolition. Instead of vilifying them with modern outrage, we should recognize the flawed yet revolutionary vision they left behind.
The citizens of Gaza cannot assemble in protest of their own government, cannot do or say what they want, or practice whatever religion they want, or have a free press, all rights guaranteed in just our First Amendment. The irony in all this is that the world the founders birthed, flawed though it may be, provides the bedrock for everything that makes life good for the very people who hate them so much.
Bill makes a fascinating and undeniable point. Woke Gen Z enjoys the very freedoms guaranteed by the Constitution, the same Constitution crafted by the founding fathers they claim to despise. Their right to protest, freedom of speech, and ability to march in the streets and voice discontent without fear of imprisonment or execution all exist because of the system those forefathers built. Yet, in their misguided activism, they rally behind regimes like Palestine's, conveniently ignoring that such governments offer their citizens none of these rights. In the places they glorify, free speech is crushed, dissenters are silenced, and personal freedoms are virtually non-existent. The irony is staggering. They curse America while benefiting from its liberties, all while supporting regimes that would strip them of every right they currently take for granted. It is hypocrisy at its most glaring.
It's so easy to take for granted individual liberty, a Bill of Rights, the rule of law, checks and balances, getting a trial by jury, the peaceful transfer of power, protecting minority rights, and democracy itself. But those are the things that make our pampered, privileged, bratty lives so relatively cushy. No one starves here. Even our poor people are fat.
With all the food programs, safety nets, and welfare interventions in America, it is nearly impossible for someone to starve involuntarily. The system may not be perfect, but it ensures that no one is truly without access to basic necessities. Food banks, shelters, government assistance, and countless private charities step in every day to meet people's needs. Compare that to many parts of the world where poverty is crushing, families go days without meals, and clean water is a luxury. Yet, ironically, some Gen Z activists point to those countries as supposedly better than America, romanticizing systems that cannot provide even basic human security, while ignoring the abundance and opportunities at home. The truth is that even America's poor and homeless live in conditions far better than millions abroad. And that is not propaganda. It is reality, something worth appreciating rather than mocking.
Not everyone has to be bribed. Anyone can get rich. The cops are flawed, but we're not a police state. The drinks don't make you go blind, and no one pushes you out of a window for a bad Yelp review. Our government takes a lot and a lot, but it also gives a lot. Healthcare, retirement, money, unemployment, disability, college grants, food stamps. Maybe in the blissfully perspective-free mind, this all adds up to a low bar that America has reached. But you have to ask, why do millions of people every year risk their lives to come here?
Indeed, America is far from perfect with its flaws, divisions, and ongoing struggles, yet it still boasts some of the strongest economic structures and institutions in the world. That is precisely why people are not fleeing the country, but flocking to it in droves. For millions worldwide, America represents a dream, a chance to achieve stability, freedom, and prosperity that would be impossible in their homelands. Many would give everything just to experience a fraction of what we often take for granted daily. I personally know immigrant parents who have sacrificed careers, comfort, and even safety so their children could grow up in America, enduring hardships without complaint because they understand that the opportunities here outweigh everything they left behind. That is the power of this nation and why people risk everything to be part of it. On that note, we draw the curtains on today's video. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button and subscribe to this channel for more content like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.